Hello, welcome. My name is Carrie, and I am the Public Information Officer from the Regional District. I am also the Communications Officer for the Regional Emergency Program. Can you hear me okay? Just a thumbs up? Excellent. Good. First, I would like to say that our hearts go out to all who've been affected by the McDougall Creek wildfire, and particularly to those whose homes have been significantly damaged or lost. The City of West Kelowna, West Bank First Nation, and the Regional District of Central Okanagan are here to support residents as they rebuild their lives, as many other local and provincial government partners. I would like to acknowledge our presence on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded lands of the Syilx Okanagan people who have resided here since time immemorial. We recognize, honor, and respect the Syilx Okanagan lands upon which we live, work, and play. Today, we are providing information to residents returning home and those who will now begin the road to recovery and rebuilding their homes lost in the wildfire. A reminder that this live stream is being recorded and the video is available anytime on RDCO YouTube channel. Now I'd like to introduce our presenters and the topics discussed here today. I'm joined by Evan Lizotti from BC Wildfire, who will provide an update on the wildfire situation. Chris Anderson, Operations Chief at the EOC. He will provide insight into the coordination efforts required to downgrade evacuation orders to alerts. Lance Cafish, also from the EOC, who will provide information for safe re-entry into communities and will highlight some waste and debris management information. David Cooper, Community Relations Manager from BC Hydro, will speak to the critical infrastructure efforts by crews and customer billing. McDougall Creek Wildfire Recovery Managers Steve Shell and Ron Matusi will provide an overview to the services offered by the Resiliency Centre. And Jim McDonald, the Preparedness and Recovery Manager, joins us today from the First Nations Emergency Support Services. And Amanda Anderson and Margarita Lund, members of the Health Emergency Management Team from Interior Health, are here, and they will speak to environmental considerations such as waste and septic systems and mental health supports. With that said, I would like to pass it over to Evan from BC Wildfire.
Hello, everybody. My name is Evan Lizotte. I'm a Fire Information Officer at the Grouse Complex. I'm here to give you guys an update on the McDougall Creek wildfire. So it is currently out of control at an estimated 13,970 hectares. Today, September 12th, crews will continue working on the mop-up of objectives, patrols, and extinguishing of hotspots along the west and south flanks of the fire, in addition to continued construction of the guard and contingency lines. When it comes to resources on the fire, we have an incident management team here and 9 helicopters, 168 forest firefighters, 41 operational staff, 6 structural protection personnel, 29 pieces of heavy equipment. We have also BC Hydro technicians and our CMP who are working every day with us. We are also expecting some additional crews in the upcoming days. There is a potential for a planned aerial ignition to occur this afternoon and or tomorrow in the Hidden Creek area of the McDougall Creek wildfire. At this time, tomorrow afternoon seems like it'll be our best opportunity. The purpose of the planned ignition is to remove unburnt fuel in an intentional way to secure the control lines and achieve containment. Based on current conditions and return of warmer temperatures later this week, this unburnt fuel has the potential to burn on its own in a more active way. This area of the fire is burning in a steep and challenging terrain that possesses a safety risk to ground personnel. Thus, a planned aerial ignition would mitigate this. The operation would be approximately 15 hectares in size and will only occur if the weather conditions are favorable. Aerial resources assigned to the incident will be available to provide bucketing support as required. Smoke within the fire perimeter may be visible by surrounding communities. Planned ignitions are a very useful tactic in the fire suppression and fire management, and are often the safer and more efficient operational tactic. It allows us to bring the fire perimeter down to control lines and creates a more uniform and continuous fire edge, which is easier for crews to use direct attack methods on and extinguish hot spots to strengthen control lines and achieve containment. This is also more time efficient and safer for our crews, as they have to spend less time chasing hotspots and patches of free burning fire in the rough terrain. On September 7th and 8th, a small-scale planned hand ignition were used to remove unburnt fuel between the established machine guard and the free burning fire's edge along the northern portion of the west flank, in addition to between the fire's edge and the construction guard off the Terrace FSR, and this went very well. A tremendous amount of work has been completed to successfully prevent the McDougall Creek wildfire from entering the Powers Creek drainage. The planned ignition operations that have been conducted in these areas have been critical to reducing the threat of the McDougall Creek fire to adjacent communities. Following the of cooler temperatures and improved relative humidities, fire behavior is being observed at rank 1 and 2, defined as smoldering ground fire or low vigor surface fire. An increase in temperature is expected on Wednesday as a ridge pushes through the region. The return of warmer temperatures may result in a gradual increase in fire behavior within established control lines. Increased smoke may be visible by nearby communities as well. Increased air traffic is anticipated to continue as helicopter bucketing demands throughout the area remain continuous in order to perform water bucketing operations. Rotary and fixed wing aerial resources supported ground personnel to construct guards in the areas areas of the fire by delivering and applying fire retardant to slow the spread of the fire. In addition, aerial resources continued bucketing in the Powers Creek drainage and filling water tanks and bladders along the ridge where personnel are working to ensure hosing operations are ongoing. Crews are completing building a fuel-free buffer zone above the drainage where heavy equipment was unable to work due to the steep terrain. Heavy equipment have tied machine guard into the fuel-free buffer zone to create a line of defense along this flank of the fire. The heavy equipment task force team are continuing to work on a guard construction and supporting ground personnel with ground personnel with fire suppression efforts. Rehabilitation specialists are embedded in the incident to begin rehabilitation operations in critical areas. Rehabilitation work will continue well into the fall. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Evan. I really appreciate the update. I would like to introduce now Chris Anderson from the Emergency Operations section.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Carrie. My name is Chris Anderson. I'm the Public Works Manager with the City of West Kelowna. But today I'm here to give an update on behalf of the great work that the operations section of the Emergency Operations Center has been doing over the course of the last 3.5 weeks or so since this fire started. So on behalf of our operations section, I'm happy to say that we've been able to get some residents back into their neighborhoods in West Kelowna, RDCO, and the West Bank First Nation over the course of the last while. We were able to work with agencies such as BC Wildfire Service, BC Hydro, ESS, RCMP, and all the other local jurisdictions in order to make that happen. And, you know, it's important to note that this work is continuing as we speak right now, and we'll continue to get everyone home as quickly and as safely as reasonably possible. So some of the things that that we're dealing with in the Emergency Operations Center at the operations desk is just some of the considerations that come into play, some of the things that we're considering when we're looking at downgrading an evacuation order. You know, it should be noted that all of this is done in an effort to keep both you and your family safe when you are entering back into an area that has had an evacuation order. So some of the considerations that are, you know, that are included as part of that And I'm not going to list all of them, so I'm just going to list some of the ones that we have been working through over the course of the last few weeks. But things like if you live in an area where there's municipal critical infrastructure, the operations desk is really taking significant efforts to make sure that critical infrastructure utilities such as water and sewer are up and running properly. If you happen to live in an area where you might have an on-site private system, and it sounds like we might hear a little bit more about that later, please ensure that you're attending to your private systems as quickly as possible once you get back, once the evacuation order is lifted for your area. Really want to thank and recognize BC Hydro and the amazing work that they've done in the recent weeks to ensure the integrity of their system to deliver power to these affected areas. And again, and making these areas safe for access for you and your family, and the team members on the ground that are doing all this great work to get everyone back in as quickly as possible. Other things that are considered as part of lifting or rescinding an evacuation order would include assessing and removing any hazardous trees. Unfortunately, after a fire activity such as the one that we've experienced, a lot of these trees and their root systems become compromised, and we've had teams out there looking at these, along the public roads, parks, any sort of public locations. And as a homeowner as well, this is something that you'll be wanting to think about as you enter back into your area. Along those lines, rapid structural assessments have also taken place throughout the greater West Side. So please pay attention to any placards that you'll see posted at your property when you get back in. These will give you some good information as to your next steps moving forward as the evacuation order is lifted. For other evacuated communities that are on the West Side, please know that we continue to work closely with all of these service providers mentioned earlier and many more to ensure that, again, the number one thing is to ensure that it's safe for you and your family to get back in as quickly as reasonably possible. And with that said, I just wanted to thank everyone for their patience. I know it's been a trying time. It's been a long time, but rest assured that the Emergency Operations Center is doing everything that we can to support the field and to ensure that safety for you and your family. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Chris. That's much appreciated. Now, in terms of re-entry, I'd like to have Lance present a little bit about safety as we re-enter our communities. Lance, if you'd like to go ahead.
Hello, everyone. Lance Kafish. I'm the risk manager at the City of Kelowna and the risk management officer for the Emergency Operations Center here for this event and today. First of all, apologies for the lighting in the background. I'm more or less talking to you from a closet at the Emergency Operations Center, which is the quietest spot I could find. So hopefully this is adequate and you can all hear what I'm having to say today. The first thing I'd like to just mention and make sure everyone is clear on is that after the wildfire has impacted, your neighborhood and the area around where you're re-entering, it is a change condition. So first and foremost, I just want to remind folks here attending today to be aware of that and to just have a heightened level of caution and safety when you're re-exploring your old neighborhood, because it will not be exactly as you left it. Few things, some of which I think have already been touched on, but wildlife will have returned to the area a little bit more in force than you left it, because as human presence goes away, the wildlife re-enters those areas. So they may be around. Be aware, obviously, deer for driving conditions, and bear are also going to be potentially in the area. I know several staff that have been working up in some of the neighborhoods to do those rapid damage assessments Chris mentioned have made note of having seen some bears. We've had conservation officers out as well. Other things to be aware of, and I won't spend a lot of time on this, but I would refer you to the Court Emergency website and the re-entry booklet there. There will be potentially hot spots in the area. Of course, BC wildfire crews and structural firefighting crews have been in the neighborhoods doing their best to detect all those in advance and make sure they're out, but there may be some left, as well as underground fires, sometimes referred to as ash pits, that are hard to detect. So be aware of those things and the possible presence of those in your neighborhoods. The other thing that's already also been mentioned, Chris talked about it, is danger trees. So there's been a lot of work to deal with all the danger trees to the best of our abilities, but particularly in natural conditions areas and as the backcountry. Now there's still an evacuation order in effect for much of the areas above the neighborhoods that people might be returning to. However, in the weeks and months to come, please be aware that all the trees in those areas may not have been assessed for hazard, and there may be danger trees in and around those areas. So if you're out and about walking the dog or children are playing in those areas, please have a heightened sense of safety and awareness with respect to staying away from burned trees wherever possible. And also, I think more for the weeks and months to come, I just want to give a bit of an advance warning that the waterways and the creeks conditions will have changed over the course of the fire. With some of the vegetation removed, we will see water potentially traveling through some of those creeks and water courses faster than they would normally, or that you're used to. So again, when you're out enjoying the natural environment, or kids are playing, be very aware of the potential for creeks and waterways to be moving faster. Carrie, did you want me to get into debris removal now, or is that for later in the agenda?
If you want to touch on debris removal, and then maybe we can wrap up with the fridge and freezer program. How does that sound?
Sounds good. Yeah, with respect to debris removal, the first thing I would like to express is to please reach out to your insurance company or the general contractor that you might be engaging to help in rebuilding, and or restoration company post-fire, particularly for structures or your homes or your garages that might be partially damaged. It is really important you hire a qualified professional to guide you through the demolition process, and be aware that there can be hazardous materials present, both because of the mixture of chemicals that can happen during an intense fire, and also because of the building materials that were originally used, and there being the presence of possible substances like asbestos. So to dispose of demolition materials, including burned foundations and structures, a hazardous materials assessment is going to be required by the landfill to remove those things. And keep checking back at courtemergency.ca for more information about that as time goes on. But rest assured, if you're hiring a qualified professional to do that demolition work, they will know the steps to go through. With respect to large quantities of wood waste, which you may be looking to get rid of, burns, trees, and other sorts of large wood waste items, there is a plan being worked on to help that be convenient for you to remove, and hopefully have a transfer station or locations close by to where we expect the wood waste to be coming from to help you handle those things. And that plan is in the works. So again, please check back to courtemergency.ca for more information on that, and we'll be pushing more information out through social media and other channels as well. And for any other type of waste, if you're wondering what to do with it, please go ahead and contact the landfill, and they'll be able to help you out with any questions you have. With respect to fridges and freezers, I just put a bit of information into the chat. But for just about 2 weeks now, we've been working with a local company to help arrange for pickup of fridges and freezers to make that convenient for you when you return. Certainly, we do appreciate that it's an unpleasant experience to come back to a very stinky fridge after power has been out for an extended period of time, which is the case in several evacuated areas. So our best advice is to make sure you duct tape those fridges and freezers shut without opening them whatsoever. On that point, I will ask you to touch base with your insurance company. They might have advice for you, or they might expect certain types of pictures or information before disposing of those fridges or freezers if they're going to be eligible for an insurance claim. I'd direct you to, again, cross those T's and dot those I's with your insurance company. But we will, if you use the email in the chat here arrange to have a third-party company come and pick up those fridges and freezers from your curb, ideally, or from your home if you need extra assistance doing that, so they can be disposed of in a environmentally friendly way. And also promptly, because please leave in mind if you were to take those appliances with those smells coming from inside, duct tape closed. They shouldn't be too smelly to you, but bears will be able to get the scent of whatever's in there, and that will be attracted to wildlife. So please use that service. And Carrie, those are my comments.
Great, thank you, Lance. Since we are streaming live from YouTube, we won't have the chat accessible, but we'll ensure that we get that information to you if you're interested. Also, you can get it at courtemergency.ca. So now I would like to introduce David Cooper from BC Hydro to give us an update.
Yeah, thank you, Carrie, and apologize to those viewing that I am having some technical issues here with the laptop today, so unfortunately I won't have my camera on, but I do promise to try to keep this as engaging as possible for you. As Evan and Chris both alluded to, BC Hydro has worked very closely with the EOC and BC Wildfire Services responding to the McDougall Creek fire. Our electrical system did take some pretty severe damage as a result, and work's been long underway here to get everything rebuilt and restored. So our West Kelowna distribution crews have been working tirelessly to get the system rebuilt. But just to give you a little bit of context, I guess, to the challenges that they were facing. We lost approximately 437 poles and also had approximately 584 customers that lost power throughout the duration of the fire in West Kelowna. My last records from this morning show that we have now reinstalled 385 of those poles, so 88% complete, as well as restored power to 462 customers, which is roughly 79% complete. So the focus now is to finish the restoration process of our electrical system. You'll probably notice crews working in the Bear Creek Road and Rose Valley areas. It's kind of our last major area of focus. The remaining customers have all more or less been restored by now. There will be a couple of pardon the term, but I guess mop-up areas as well too, where there might be a couple of outliers that will also get attended to. So it's been a lot of work. It's been a very collaborative effort with the BC Wildfire Services and the EOC, and we really truly appreciate all the cooperation from all the agencies in getting this issue resolved. So you might be wondering, now that I've returned home, what am I looking at here? Well, if we look from a billing standpoint, for those that may have unfortunately lost their homes in the fire, first off, my condolences and apologies that's something that you have to go through. We have a list of the meters that were destroyed or the structures that were destroyed, and we've already put in a request to have those accounts closed. Because the last thing that you're going to want is to be getting a bill from BC Hydro in the mail, which would have been based off of an estimate. So we'll ensure that you won't receive bills going forward until you've managed to either, if you're able to reconstruct the home, or need to set up a new account at a different residence. For those that were on evacuation orders and were fortunate enough not to lose their homes during the fire, we will also put through a billing credit for the duration of the evacuation order to ensure that you're not billed for any little bits of usage that might have been drawn, whether it's a fan or air conditioner left on when you had to evacuate. We'll ensure that you're not billed for any of that time on the evacuation order. If you do get those bills and you've noticed that you haven't gotten the credit and you feel that you should, and you have the evacuation order, just feel free to reach out to our contact center and they'll be able to put through the request to our building department to make sure that that's adjusted. Our main priority obviously is safety is number one, but two, we also want to make sure that transitioning back home goes as smoothly as possible, and we are here to help you with anything that you might need. So earlier I was referencing that we are now shifting focus to rebuilding in the Bear Creek area. We do have a very rough estimate for restoration time, which is posted on the BC Hydro website, where we are looking at around September 21st to have those final homes reconnected. The delay, or I guess not so much a delay, but the issue there for the length of time is obviously just being able to access and rebuild all of our infrastructure there as well. So in a normal year, we would have been able to, or we would have had a large pool of regional crews available to come in and support. But I think it's safe to say that this year has been far from normal year. And with the number of fires around the province, our resources have been somewhat limited, although we were able to secure a couple of crews to assist with the rebuilding from around the province. So we appreciate everybody's patience and cooperation. And like I said, we are here to help. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact us, and we'll do everything that we can to make your return home safe and smooth. Thank you.
That's good information. Thank you, David. So I'd like to introduce our recovery managers, Steve Schell and Ron Matusi, who will provide an update overview to the services offered by the Resiliency Centre. Steve, can I start with you?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Carrie. And so I'll be speaking on behalf of Ron Matusi, who is the other recovery manager working here at the Resiliency Centre. So in terms of our location, people are trying to navigate around and find out where everything is. So we're centrally located here at 403-301 Louis Drive. So that's right beside Arby's, beside Highway 97. So easy to find. Our doors are open, have been open since August 31st from 9 a.m. till 6 p.m., 7 days a week. So we are providing that good service for those residents after hours and having longer hours for them. The purpose of this Resiliency Centre is just to provide that single point of contact for anyone seeking advice and information regarding the impacts of the McDougall Creek wildfire. There's lots of questions, and as people navigate and get home into their residences, when those orders go to an alert, they'll be seeking that advice. We strongly encourage them to come see us here, and we'll provide some direction for them. We are supporting residents from Lake Country, City of Kelowna, West Bank First Nation, electoral area west of the RDCO, and we are also providing supports for other people that are evacuated from other fires, like the Shuswap, for example, where we had one resident stop by here, evacuated from that fire, but residing here with family. They were able to come into our center and seek the advice they needed to get support. We have a number of agencies set up right now in the support center. We have Service BC, and they're providing support in terms of issuing new driver's licenses, BC ID, BC Service app, those kinds of features which they normally provide through regular business, and they have staff available to do that and contacts for that. We have Service Canada here providing passports, social insurance numbers, and EI claims, helping people with those issues. Work BC for those people who have lost their jobs and are seeking work and looking for training. We have advice and expertise here in that. We have two insurance companies here, Gore Mutual and Intact Insurance, and they're providing some remarkable advice in terms of insurance and how to understand your policy and what things you should be looking for, even if you don't have an insurance policy with them. We have Finesse, First Nation Services and Recovery Support is provided by that organization, and they have a person here in the center as of today. We have Disaster, Psychosocial Support, who is providing that mental health support for those people that are impacted and traumatized by this event. There's lots of supports out there, and they're an amazing organization that have been able to ride in those bus tours alongside those residents as they recovered and were introduced to their damaged homes. We have the Salvation Army here as well. They're providing broad supports through their organization, things like clothing, furniture, food supports, and other supports through this broad network of agencies that they're linked with. And we were on a call yesterday with them. There's over 65 agencies in this community, and 20 people dialed in on the call yesterday. It's truly remarkable how how big of a heart this community has in looking for any kind of support with those various agencies. We have building permit advisory advice here in the center to support those that will have to move forward to the next steps in either doing a demolition permit, an RV permit, or building permits, depending on what their situation is. So we have that single point of contact. We have the advice here, and we will have different building inspectors able to help with that in those jurisdictions I spoke of. We have a team of caseworkers that are being set up right now, 2 remote ones right now. We'll have 4 in this facility who are providing that one-on-one conversation with those individuals that are directly impacted by this event. From that information, we can drill in and find specific needs and where the gaps are for those people to help recover and move forward with this initiative. And it's amazing to see that team work through the various challenges, and every person has a different story to tell. We're able to find those linkages and make sure that they're on their path to their recovery, whatever that may look like. And it's every person does have their own story. The Resiliency Centre, fortunately, is funded through Emergency Management and Climate Readiness BC, and they've been a strong partner in helping us be successful in all of this. And we have a great alliance with the province of BC to make sure that if we have any gaps in those funding sources, we have an inroad with them to search out what those solutions might look like. So just as a closing point, just want to say that the center is up and running. There's some brilliant, smart people here willing to support those impacted residents. And it's going to be very traumatizing, especially as those move into these evacuated areas that have gone from an order to alert over the next few days, and commend everybody that's working to support those residents and all the good work Hydro is doing to try and get those areas open up as soon as possible to get people in there safely. So with that, I'll close off and pass it on to the next person. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Steve. Now, along the same vein of recovery, I would like to introduce Jim McDougall from the First Nations Emergency Support Services. Jim.
Yes, afternoon, everybody. Jim McDougall here, and it actually is First Nations Emergency Services Society. Just to make that clear, thanks very much. Yeah, and we have a staff member, as mentioned, there at the Resilience Centre, and also one up here in Salmon Arm. And we'll try to keep these staff on site, and if we need more, we'll get more in. So we'll kind of go with the ebb and flow of the center itself. Just going to look at my notes here, sorry. Yeah, and what we're really here for is to particularly address challenges that Indigenous people in the area are facing, assist those community members in navigating what may appear to be a pretty complicated ESS and recovery program, and all of this to help them better understand the supports and resources that might be available to them through other agencies, and of course from Canada. In addition to that, we sure be pleased to assist with the development of individual recovery action plans. This is really to help those people make those critical next steps as they return home and start to take charge of their own recovery. We also typically are in very close relationships with the nations themselves, and we'll be trying to circle back to the nation so that when residents return, when the membership starts coming back, that the particular First Nation that they belong to is then able to start getting them back into the normal supports that the community provides. Well, like all of us at the Resilience Centre, a big part of our job is to reveal unmet needs, those needs that aren't really addressed by anybody, and try to work with the various agencies in the room and the NGOs to address those needs, those unmet needs, the ones sometimes that we haven't thought about perhaps. And then while we're at the center and listening to your stories, we're really looking for common trends amongst community members, similar stories, and then of course sharing those stories with their nation that will again inform those community recovery plans, because of course, aside from individuals, the First Nation also has to recover sometimes critical infrastructure or other assets. So that's about it for me, and really looking forward to reading any of the chats that are going to be recorded and passed around to us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Next, I'd like to introduce our interior health team. Amanda, would you like to start?
Sure, I can start. Hi, everyone. I just first wanted to acknowledge that returning home is a traumatic event, especially for small children. So I don't recommend a big trip, just 1 or 2 people. And it's really important that you prep, plan, and document. So if you're not in the area or in your home yet, just make sure that you're going back with a fully charged cell phone so that you can use your camera, pen and paper, and start that documentation process for your insurance. And if you don't have insurance, there are available resources such as the Red Cross and the Salvation Army. Please continue to check with local services like hydro and gas for guidance in your area, and also for information on your water system and the status. You can go to a website called Drinking Water for Everyone. That website has a map that will provide you information on the status of your water system and also contact information if you need to contact your water system. There are some of you that would be on water conservation, so you might want to bring plenty of potable water or safe water to drink while you're cleaning, and some cleaning supplies. There are lots of resources on the Interior Health website. If you go to www.interiorhealth, you can look for the orange banner at the very top. It is the resource for wildfires, and it does provide information on wildfire effects on drinking water quality, disinfecting your well if you have your own well or water source, food safety, sewage systems, and cleaning. We know that a lot of you have participated in the program for just disregarding your fridge and freezers, but there are other foods that you need to consider that would be damaged, like dry goods, canned foods where they're bulging, rusted or dented, and that also includes home canned items. You'll want to disregard those because the heat from the fire likely could have compromised that safety seal. When it comes to your own individual well, water system components should be checked over for damage. If there is any evidence that your water supply has been affected by the fire, an alternative source of drinking water should be used until your water source can be assessed and tested. So you can contact a reputable company and a qualified professional to do any repairs that you need. We also recommend collecting samples and testing your water after shocking and flushing it. And if you do need more information, you can contact an environmental health officer. I'll provide the Kelowna local number, that is 250-469-7061, to contact your local environmental health officer if you have questions in regards to shocking and flushing your well. There are lots of resources on our website in regards to flushing and shocking your well as well. The other thing is for your septic system, for those that have a system, you can obtain information on finding an authorized person to conduct an assessment. Currently, we are waiving the fees for those in the evacuation areas that are requiring a sewage record. So if it was filed with Interior Health, you can fill out a form online and request for your sewage record if you do need to rebuild or if there's a repair that needs to be done. In the meantime, don't use your sewage system if you believe that there has been any damage due to the fire. As for cleanup, I think Cord has provided a booklet. There is a lot more information on our website as well for cleaning up. I just want to remind everybody to ensure that you have personal protective equipment on. So long sleeves, long shirts, long pants. Goggles are a good idea, wearing gloves, and changing your shoes once you come out of the area and your clothes. So if you're staying at a friend's house or a family member, that you just change over your clothes after being back in your home. So I just want to remind everybody just to take breaks, pace yourself, and then reach out for help if you need be. There's lots of resources for mental health, and I'll let Marguerite provide information on that. Thanks.
Thanks, Amanda. Marguerite, would you like to provide your update? Thanks.
Yeah, okay. So I'm Margaretta Lund, and I'm with Provincial Psychosocial Services, which is actually with Provincial Health Services Authority. And as Steve mentioned, we have people that are in the Resiliency Centre, our disaster psychosocial, and they're the people, they're also people refer to them as the purple shirts. So if you come to the Resiliency Centre and see a purple shirt, don't hesitate to reach out and talk to them. As mentioned, there are a lot of resources. I know right now for a lot of you, that's probably not front and center in your mind, but maybe if we can just plant that seed in the back of your mind that, you know, if you need to, if you want to talk and you're having a tough time, I know sometimes people don't want to rely on family and friends because they're also having a difficult time. So the numbers that were provided, I think in your returning home booklet, the 310-6789. So it's a BC crisis support line. You don't need an area code for that. And please don't feel like it's a 911 number. It's not. It's for, you know, anyone who's having a tough time that, you know, feel free to reach out to them. They're very good. So that's 310-6789. And also, if you have mental health and substance use, some issues, or you were receiving support in the past and something's changed, the Interior Health line, that's the 310-6478. 310-6478 or 310 MHSU. You can get through to them and they'll kind of triage you and find the support that you need. One other thing, and we'll make sure that this gets passed on and maybe gets posted somewhere, but Wellness Together Canada, also they have for longer term, if you want full counseling and can't afford it or don't have a program through work, it's available 24/7 and it's absolutely free. So we'll supply that, but if you want to go online, it's wellnesstogether, one word, .ca, wellnesstogether.ca. And they also have the crisis, or not crisis, but for counseling. And there, you can find all those numbers online, but if you just need a phone number to call, and you can even call them collect, they're pretty amazing, and for other languages as well. They're at 1-866-585-0445. That's 1-866-585-0445. And just to mention too, you know, this whole, you know, we talk, or I talk a lot about talking helps, and I just had recent validation of that. I was checking in on a evacuee center, kind of a group lodging, and there was a woman there who was helping out, and she said just a few years ago that she had lost everything. Her and her daughters had to flee. The apartment was on fire. They lost everything, including their pets. And I said, "You're doing remarkably well." And she said, "Yes, that's because I finally did talk to someone." And she said her work had really kind of, you know, pestered her about it, but she said, "I'm so glad they did, because that's what's really made the difference for me and how I've been able to go on so well, because I finally just, you know, managed to get somebody to talk to." So I really kind of encourage you, or plant that seed for, you know, when there is a quiet time, and if you are having a hard time, please don't hesitate to reach out. So we'll pass all of that on for you, but I just want you to know we also have a a community, a disaster recovery toolkit for community mental health and wellness. And we're looking forward to passing that on to your local recovery managers with Steve and Ron, and trying to work with them to look for really having some long-term, medium, short-term, a lot of support for you in the future. So more things to come, and please know that, yeah, if it is counseling as well, that financially that won't be an obstacle, because there is a lot of free support out there, as mentioned. So thanks so much.
Great, thank you very much. We're now getting to the point where we can wrap up. And so as the Emergency Operations Center winds down the evacuation orders, or as the evacuation orders are downgraded, residents will start to see a transition of recovery supports, and the continuation of communication updates will shift to through Westmead First Nation, City of West Kelowna, and the Regional District of Central Okanagan. The other thing I wanted to mention was important is that if residents are looking for information about the emergency support services, they can continue to visit corridemergency.ca, and it will have the latest hours and locations of ESS. So we will ensure that we have the reference links within the YouTube channel under the comments so that you can access them. But we also have information available on corridemergency.ca. We at rdco.com/resiliency. There's a returning home guide that is continually updated with this important information, and I highly recommend taking a read through all the resources, contact information, and special topics that we have. So bookmark rdco.com/resiliency for information and important links, and please let your neighbors know about these resources too. So I'd like to thank all of our presenters today, and for everyone for taking time to join us this afternoon. I hope this was meaningful for you. This concludes our session, and take care, please.